What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here on the USC channel at the Voice of College Football. In this video, we're going to give you a very early projected record for USC based off of their schedule. And keep in mind, this is not an official prediction. Our predictions won't come until many months from now, but this is simply a projection based off the schedule, based off of how good we expect each team to be, and just kind of a mark where USC, this is where if they do better than this record, it's a good season. If it's worse than this record, it's a bad season. And that's kind of, one way to look at it. Here were the projections from 2021. Of course, USC way below the projections at 4-8, just a terrible season. Our projection was 8-4. So doing what we're about to do in this video, the projection was 8-4. I predicted this team to go 9-3, so I was even higher on the team. FBI had them with 8.6 wins, 8.6 and 3.9. Over-under was at 9, so our projection was actually more accurate than anything else, even though it still was way over what they did. And no one really expected USC to go 4-8 last season. It was a pretty big shock, but new coach, bunch of new players. It's a new season for USC, and we are projecting this team as if they're maybe not on the Utah level, but they're on that next tier in the Pac-12 South. So that's kind of how I'm projecting it. It's hard to do with teams like USC that have so much turnover, but they have the talent, I think, to be right there in that tier below Utah and possibly even rise up to Utah's level. They have the potential, but I don't think we can jump the gun and say that just yet. So again, here's the schedule. This is the scale that we will use. You see your games in white. Those will basically be 50-50 games where I think the spread's going to be 3 or 4 points or less. Less than 20%, over 80%. Those are games where I think a team is going to be favored by 14 plus points. It should be an easy win or almost an automatic loss. Not a guaranteed win necessarily. Your orange and blue, 20 to 29%, 71 to 80%. Those are games where I think a team's going to be favored by double digits, 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range. 61 to 70%, 30 to 39%. That's where I think the spread will be about a touchdown. So that's one way to look at this as we do these projections. So the easy wins for USC, I think there's really only one. I think Rice is a game that they have a more than 80% chance to win, probably closer to 100% than 80. Should be an easy win for them. But that's it. You look at the rest of the schedule, and I don't really see anywhere else on the schedule where I'm going to say, yeah, USC's definitely winning that game. There are other games where I think they probably will win. And again, these games are in that blue range, 71 to 80%. Games where I think USC will be favored by 10 to 14 points. And I think you've got Fresno State, you've got Washington State, Arizona, and Colorado in this category. Fresno State, a very good Group of 5 team out of the Mountain West. I don't think you can count that as an automatic win. I do think USC will be favored again by double digits, but not an automatic win. I think it's in that blue range. Washington State figures to be towards the bottom of the Pac-12. Same with Arizona, same with Colorado. Arizona's a little tricky. They've got some good young talent. That game's on the road, but I still think I feel pretty confident in putting that game in the blue. And they could lose the blue game. Keep in mind, when we do the projection, we give them a 75% chance to win these games in blue. So that does leave a 25% chance that USC would lose. And with 4 of these games, the percentages would tell you that USC probably would lose one of these 4 games. Not saying they will, but that's just what the percentages would say. Let's go now to the purple games. All right, so we've got Arizona State and Cal. I think USC will be about a touchdown favorite in both games. Cal lost a lot of close games last year. I think they'll be better this year. Arizona State with no Jaden Daniels is interesting. Maybe that should bump this into the blue. It is a home game. But still, I think there's enough talent on that Arizona State team to where they're kind of in that second tier in the Pac-12 South, along with USC, along with UCLA. But at home, I'm going to give USC the purple here, 61 to 70%. Games where I think they'll be underdogs, I think we've got Utah and we've got Notre Dame. A couple of games where I think they're going to be, about a touchdown underdog. Utah on the road, very tough game. Notre Dame's going to be a tough one. Most people are expecting Notre Dame to be a top 10 team preseason. USC is a team that is borderline top 25 preseason. So even though it's at home, I think we can say that Notre Dame will be favored in this game. And then the rest of the schedule, I think you got 3 50-50 games here. Stanford on the road, Oregon State on the road, UCLA on the road. I think USC is probably more talented than all 3 of these teams, but when you look at the fact that these games are on the road, I think there's enough there for Stanford, Oregon State, and UCLA to say that these games could really go either way. I think Oregon State is a dangerous team actually this year in the Pac-12. Very underrated. Stanford beat USC last year. UCLA is a pretty talented team. So, yeah, those are the 3 games that are probably going to swing the season one way or the other. If they take care of business in these blue games and in these purple games, and even if they lose to Utah and Notre Dame, if you win these 50-50 games, you still have a chance to go 10-2, and that's a really good year, I think, in year 1 under Lincoln Riley. So 3 50-50 games, but when you average everything out, the projection for USC comes out to 8-4. So an 8-4 projection for USC, exact same projection as last season. Now, this was actually, the projection was actually 7.5 and 4.5. It was right down the middle between 7-5 and 8-4. So I want to make sure I let you know that it was, you know, we're not going to do half games, but it was in between 7.5 and 8, and between 7 and 8 wins. So 7.5 wins is what the projection, what the average would show. But when I look at the schedule and I see that they have more of these games that they're favored in, that's why I'm going to lean it up and go to 8-4. But a 7-5 projection, I think, would also be fair for USC. So you're looking at 7-5 or 8-4. Anything under 7-5, I think, is a very disappointing season. If they get over 8-4, I think it's a really good season for USC. So what do you think? Do you think this projection is fair? Are you more in line with 7-5 or 8-4, or maybe higher or maybe lower? Give me your thoughts down in the comments below.